So, only one of you was in my last one, right? Just you. And you. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So, only 3 of you will have heard my jokes. Okay. So, if any of you were in Sherwin's first presentation yesterday, you noticed that I went up to him and I actually used the BYU blue. That was my first joke, Sherwin. So, all right. So I was asked to talk about data migration, and I'm going to talk about migration without Drupal, using some custom scripts and some of the quick and dirty things that I've been able to do. And then I'm show you some Drupal tools that are very useful in certain circumstances, but there's a lot of times your circumstances don't always line up with what you're doing. But so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And I brought little things to throw at you. So I wear 2 hats in my life. I've worked at BYU for 26 years now. I actually started doing Drupal stuff for my other job, which is with the Orem Owls baseball team.
Who would have introduced you to Drupal?
I believe that I was looking to do something for our internal portal, and I said, Sherwin, how should I do this? And Drupal said, well, I would do Drupal. And as I said,
what a wise person.
He's this Sherwin person, and as I said in my last presentation, it's all our motto is a Sherwinism. I think there's a Drupal module that'll do that. So with that, anyway, I'm just going to pass these around. If you'd like a rubber ball with our logo on it, feel free. Huh? It was more fun when I tossed them to everyone.
Well, maybe she should go up and throw them.
Well, so am I. That's why it was more fun.
The best part is, if Katria throws it, the only people that have to be worried is everybody else.
Yeah, no, I'm fine, because I was actually.
But if she's throwing it at you, then everybody else should duck.
I thought about coming up with some interactive things, and if you answered a question, throwing it at you, but I couldn't come up with anything interactive, so just because it's all presentation. All right, so first of all, let's talk about without Drupal. So oftentimes, you're coming from a different CMS. In my case, I had a custom stuff that I had done. And then also, I'm going to kind of show you some of the scripts that we did with BYU Studies, bringing their data out of SQL Server and creating them as Drupal content objects. So first of all, how many of you have used node save or node load? Okay. You 3 have heard about them. Node save and node load are my 2 favorite Drupal hook commands. Now, okay, you've got me all messed up here, Sherwin. I had this all set up, and then he was messing with my display. And
You mirrored it back.
yeah, I know, but then I went full screen.
Are those 2 items modules?
No, they are functions. They're standard
Migrate? No, migrate and Drupal to Drupal.
Node load, node save.
Oh, no, okay, you're right. Yeah, they're standard Drupal statements. So the first thing I want to show you is, how did that close? I had everything opened and now it's all closed.
I'm sure it was my fault.
I'm pretty sure it was. Okay. I wanted to show my database that I was coming from. So here's an example of, I had a database that I keep track of all of our season tickets, all of our season ticket holders' seats. Okay, we have 3,000 something actual seats, or 20 something actual seats in the stadium. I had a system, and it's within Drupal because I used it for the presentation, but I'm not using Drupal for it. Or I could go and I could say, all right, show me my, where is it? My seating chart. And there's my seating chart. The red is season ticket holders. Okay, all this was done using this table right here that has all of my different seats, and then my seat owners. So for this season, this seat ID, this customer owned this seat, okay? Well, I decided, well, why am I not doing that with Drupal? I can use Drupal for that. Well, is there a Drupal module? Well, of course not, because it's a very specified thing. But what I did is I created Drupal content types. So I created, oh, where'd it go? In my last thing, I had this all open. I created a content type called a seat. And then I have a content type called a customer. Okay? So I didn't want to sit there and create 2,700 or however many seats, content items by hand, right? Because that would be silly. But they're in this database. How am I going to create it as a Drupal content? Here comes the node save. As soon as I can find it, because everything closed. There should be one in here called create seat. Or not. Give me a second. Create seat. There we go. Okay. So here I created this function called create seat. Can you all see that? Do I need to make it a little bigger? No? It won't go bigger. Well, it'll be okay. All right, so right here in my function, the first thing I need to do is, all I need to do is require once this node pages include. Then that gives me access to all of the Drupal functions that I need to be able to create content. Okay? I know what my content, here's my content has a title, it has a section, a row, and a seat number. So if I go over to my Drupal site and look at my content type of a seat, it has to make the long trip to Orem and back. So you see here are my different fields that are within this content type. So I'm pulling all of everything from my database, and I'm creating this data object from my database query for each one. Then I call my create seat and pass that data to it, and then I just set each of my, I create a new node, and here's the command right here that creates the new one. And I do a node object prepare, which then sets up all the different values that I need to set. And then here, I'm giving it a content type, I'm giving it a title, and then I'm filling in all those different fields. And I don't know why I have those commented out, but then all I do is I save that node, and it created all 2,700 of those pieces of content automatically for me. What I do, and Sherwin always grimaces at this, I create a basic page that will handle PHP, and I call it ad hoc. And I just include that PHP in there to run that script. I could create a module. In fact, I did. At one time, I had a module where I would pass the name of the script of what the specific PHP code that I was running. For example, this one would be called create seat. But I found it easier just to do an ad hoc page. My only line in there is include this PHP. But using that node load and then the node save saved me hours and hours of work. The thing that's great is you can this doesn't have to do with data migration, but let me just show you this. The other side of that is the node load, and I use node load a lot, and then can get that same access to all of those attributes of a content type, and then I can create my custom PHP, which, as I talked about in my last presentation, I'm in the process of now creating this as a module and creating those as functions rather than just PHP snippets, because that will make Sherwin very happy. Even though it has nothing to do with BYU, it'll still make Sherwin very happy. And that's our goal, is to make the boss happy. Okay, so that's one way I did there. This is obviously a very simple one. There was only 3 fields, a little bit of set of data. So we recently helped BYU Studies move to their new Drupal site. And they had all this years and years and years of customer data that was in a SQL Server database that needed to be converted to Drupal content. And so, magic of magic, I created these different scripts. And ignore this right here. This was simply for testing. But I would basically go out and select from their, I took their SQL Server database, converted it to a MySQL database, and then I would simply pull in all this data, and then I mapped out all of the different fields. And you can see these are a couple different things, and I created their, using Drupal Commerce, using their customer profiles. We were able to do, we did all their content that way. Let me show you that. Create
Oh, how did you
product.
put the values into the fields? Can I see that specific step?
Right here. I used the commerce wrapper.
If you did, and some of the fields were not in the wrapper, or were all of them?
I basically used, wrapper is just what I wrapped them all in, the same as if I had called it node.
Okay.
Yeah. And then these were specific ones that when you get to know the specific content type, similar to the way I was with the seat, it's just that it's a Drupal Commerce content type. But they had different levels with field collections and taxonomies and all that fun stuff that we did. We also had all their products to create, and kind of did the same thing, other than they said, okay, these are the ones, I have all this because these were the ones that they wanted created, which was nice, so I didn't have to filter them out. That was my filter. And then I was able to create them, and then Commerce had this Commerce product save as opposed to the node save. Okay? Not real clean. I mean, I would run it, it'd die. I'd have to figure out, I'd have to put in little, I'd have it echo out what record number it had done so I knew where I died, and so I could restart it, because they had how many thousands? Thousands and thousands of them. But it did the job. It did the job. So coming from a system that was SQL Server, it was able to do it. Now, is there other ways we could have done it? Absolutely. Drupal has the migrate module. And I'm going to show you a little bit of it because it has, there's a sample app. What I could have done is taken and created CSV files with all of that data. This is just, for the example I'm showing you, this is one of about 12 files. Okay, I could have put all that data, gathered it all together, created all these CSV files. And then using the migrate module, you create a custom mapping. So this basically, you take, for your own, you take this example, and I started doing this. I started using this example to start creating this, and I got really frustrated just because I haven't created a lot of functions. That's not my forte. But I can do stuff, I can look at database and I can figure things out with the PHP stuff. But this is the more modular way to do it. So you create this, this migrate include file, and you're basically mapping out with the content fields, similar to what I was doing in my scripts. Okay? And then then I map out where they are in the CSV file. Okay? Prepares the row, and all this you would just change to, your fields and things like that. But then in the migrate module, let me go to that. So I've created this, just a vanilla Drupal 7 site, that has the migrate module. So in there, I go to, you can see I've already installed it. So you create this group. These are all the different CSV files that are there. So now it's going to go out and it's going to say, okay, I'm going to use this include file. This is going to map it all, and I'm going to import them. I can do it one at a time. I can do them all at once. Well, let's do them all at once. Let's execute it. Now, it's taking that code that I just showed you that has everything mapped out. And I spent 2 days in a class to learn all that. And it's really cool. If you and
That code again.
show you that code again.
Explain a little bit. I mean, we'll probably have to look at documentation. But
Yeah.
maybe give us like an intro to it.
Wrong window.
Oh, there's a Zoom.
No, there we go. So this is the custom module or the custom include that you create that maps it, that then migrate takes your data and puts it all in. Now, but here's the thing that's cool about this, and you'll see this in a minute when it finishes. Like I said, when I was doing my custom scripts and then it would die on me, and I'd have to put in little things to figure out where I was, and I'd start over, and then I'd go and I'd say, okay, that went in wrong. I'd go into the database and I'd delete it out. What's nice about this is if you find an error, you find bad data, you can always back it out. And it keeps track of what it's imported, if it needs to be imported again, things like this. Yes?
If you're importing the items from the previous Drupal
I'm going to show that in a minute,
using the same thing.
using the same module. Well, that's an additional module. That's what's really cool, is if you're coming from Drupal. This is if you're not coming from a Drupal site. Okay? This is just, for example, what we could have done this, because their data was so complicated with field collections and things like that, it was just mind-blowing to get it set up in here, and that's why I decided to do it the other way, because I wanted to get it done. But, so this would be a use case if you're coming from a different CMS. Okay?
A non-custom built CMS. Something that has
Yes.
consistent structure.
Consistent structure. That's a good way to put it. Something that has consistent structure. I could have easily set that up for my seats, right? But then again, sometimes just because you can, what you're saying, Sherwin,
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
doesn't mean you should. Do I use this big complicated module and set up all my mapping? Yeah, sure. But if I can do a quick script using some simple commands and run it, simplest to me is always better.
And bear in mind that if you're doing, if it takes a while to kind of work through the process, then something like this that's iterative is great,
Right.
right? If it's something that you're only ever going to do once, it may not be worth your time to do all of the setup. If you can do it quick and dirty and get it done the way you want it, it's probably not worth your time to go to all that
Right.
the effort to
You
get
still
the.
have to write the quick code for the include file
Right.
for anything you do, right?
Exactly. Okay, we're almost there. We're at 80%. And in a minute, people that know me will know why I chose this example.
So is the migrate module similar to Feeds?
Not really.
No.
Feeds is really, its purpose is to
Sure, even can you share any
suck in
example code files?
individual
of
episodes or to do, if you're
Yeah.
doing like an RSS or an ICAL, you can suck those in repeatedly. Migrate is really meant to kind of be done, right? To take all that out of something else and put it in something else.
Right. Okay, so now it's processed it all. None failed, none were ignored, everything looks happy. But let's say maybe I decide, oh wait, this file had some bad data. I can select just that one, and I can roll back. I can do all kinds of different.
Nice.
That's really nice.
What if some of them were bad and that you have to roll back the whole thing?
You would roll back that whole section, go in and fix that particular set of data, and then just re-import
Okay.
that particular set
And
of
see,
data.
that's another difference between this and Feeds, right?
Feeds,
Feeds is
One shot.
doing one shot,
One shot.
You can delete them all again.
So now my vanilla Drupal 7 site that had no content has a bunch of baseball box scores. All that information is all in there. Ooh. Okay, now how many of you still have Drupal 6 sites sitting around and would like to get them at least to Drupal 7? Okay, we have several. So there's this second module called Drupal to Drupal. If I look at this, it's called Drupal to Drupal migration. So if you're like loading it with Drush, this one's migrate _ D2D. Kind of funny.
And the second one does work between two Drupal 7 sites as well.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm going to show you right here. So first I'm going to show you coming from a Drupal 6. So, thing you need to remember, actually let me show you this first and then you'll see it'll be my little caveat. So here I'm going to my migrate dashboard and now I have, because I loaded that Drupal to Drupal module, I now have this right here, import from Drupal. Okay, so first it wants to know my credentials. Okay, so which one should I do? Let's do my ops database that's sitting on my server out at the stadium at the home of the Owls. Let's put in.
Is this recorded?
I'm not putting anything. It won't show.
The password.
Password won't show, and I'm not going to say it.
It's password with 4 X's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, I put in my host.
Don't forget the Q. But
Put
the
in my
Q is silent,
host.
so it's easy to forget.
And I say next. Okay. Build to connect to source database. Is that not called
Unknown
ops?
database ops.
It is called Owls _ ops. Okay. So let's go back to that. There we go. Failed to connect. Base table.
Base table ops users, and it doesn't.
Okay, we're going to use a different one. Are you serious? Good. That was a good thing there. Why doesn't it exist? Can anyone tell me? They'll get a bonus.
You've got
Not you.
Oh, is this, you're going
Can anyone tell me why it didn't like it?
Drupal 7?
No?
No.
All right.
It's
Go
a
ahead.
Six letter word.
Is it a different name?
Go ahead, Sherwin.
It's your prefix.
Prefix. In this database, I have prefixes. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to say, oh yeah, if I go to my advanced options, my table prefix is Drupal _. See, I did that on purpose.
Oh, we learned so much.
Ooh, okay. So now, okay, so it's saying, okay, you've got these different roles with these different users. You don't have a role here. Okay, right? So I want to create one. I'm going to create that role. Okay. Now I'm going to say my default role is that if it doesn't fit. Okay, I'm going to go next.
Just a question.
Yeah.
If you don't care about users and you just want to import
Content?
type, can you just skip that?
Yes, there was an option, do not import.
Oh,
So, and you can see it right here. So here's my content. So I have, here's where here's my taxonomy. I don't have any taxonomy created in this
The new one.
this new site. So that says, oh, whoops, I need to go back and create my taxonomy terms. Okay, but you know what, let's just, for now, I'm not going to go back and do that. I specifically didn't because I wanted to show that you have to do some pre-work here. Okay, so now I'm going to say next. And now I'm going to get to my content type. I'm not doing any, I'll have it import user pictures, user files. It'll bring all that in. Whoops, I undid that, but that's okay. Now it's saying, okay, you've got all these different content types. And then again, I have not created them, so it's not going to import them. because it will only show the ones that I've already created in my Drupal 7
Yeah,
site.
is it only importing the
And you
content
can't
type
illustrate.
structure, or is it importing the nodes?
It's going to do the nodes. I'm going to do an example where I'll show you that I have already
There is
prepared.
She's saying that you have to
there
create
is a way to
content type
import
on
the
your new
content
site
type.
to mirror the old one. It won't create-
There is a way to import content type, yes.
Yeah.
But
So you
the
can
point of this is
that.
that you have to have your content types pre-created. And you can export them and import them with using another tool. But for this,
Because it's migrating data, not structure.
exactly,
So
exactly.
To migrate the structure, I think you can use the module bundle copy. So it's
Yes.
a copy of the
Yes. Okay.
Bear in mind, though, that bundle copy doesn't, because the structure's a little different between 6 and 7, if you're going from another version of Drupal, you're better off just recreating it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not gonna work just out of the box.
Right.
Same version.
So I have 39 nodes that are just a basic page. The rest I'm just gonna leave on do not import because I got a ton of content there anyway. I don't want to sit here and wait. So I'm gonna go ahead and do next. And it tells me, okay, those aren't gonna be imported. That's fine. Let's save it and let's run it. Now it's gotta make that trip from Orem to Provo.
Put in a light rail.
A what? A light rail, yeah.
You get VRT soon.
Get what?
The bus rapid transit.
Oh, yes. Okay, so now it tells me everything that it did. Only one was ignored. Okay, so but now I can go to my content and there should be some basic content. There's some basic content right there.
Maybe the cannibal overflow.
And here's a perfect example of my ad hoc and my single, my include of my PHP code. Okay? So that was a Drupal 7 to a Drupal 7. Easy peasy, right? Well, what about all my Drupal 6 sites? Okay? Let's do a Drupal 6 site, which will be a little faster because I happen to have it on local. It'll still be about the same. Okay, so I'm going to go against my Drupal 6 site. Username root, don't recommend using it, but you know. Go ahead and do next. Says, okay, there's 2 users with an administrator role. That's fine. I'm going to say next. Don't have any taxonomies. There's no files to bring over. I have 21 nodes that's a page and 2 web forms. Well, I know that these are just basic page content types, so I'm going to leave that as a basic page. And I installed and enabled the web form module, so that content type is now available. And I say next, save my import settings and run my import. And there it created 21 node pages. Yes?
You could change content type if you're structuring slightly different on your new site.
Right.
You could map it from a page to now a book.
You could, as long as it could figure out where
So,
you're.
Where things are going.
That has all the same fields.
so does that
Right.
have to say the exact same machine names for each field?
Yes.
So that's a requirement. The machine name has to
I
be the
b-
same.
That's a good question.
'Cause
I don't remember.
It's probably the case. but
Let's-
It's gotta have some way to.
Let's go back to this one and see if I.
ask for mapping.
That would be really cool if it did that, wouldn't it?
That would be super cool.
So let's say. Actually, let's start a new one.
And also, if one of your fields doesn't exist on the old one and it does exist on the new one,
It'll just ignore it.
and then if there's one on the old one and not in the new one, you'll just lose that data.
Correct. That's why you have to make sure that your content types. But he poses a good, interesting thing. Let's see what happens. Let's do a different one. So it's doing let's do my fan one. 'Cause it has some. Okay, no prefixes. Okay, so I have 5 nodes that are called incentives. Let's see what happens if I say to do it to a basic page.
Oh, it didn't throw an error or anything.
Not yet.
Basic page, unless you modify it, only has a title and a description, right? Title and
Yeah,
body.
those.
So my guess is it will probably match up those and.
And nothing else.
But
I'm
what-
trying to
I
remember
wonder
what was in my content type.
But I wonder if it'll give you an alert or something, be like, there were missing fields, you know?
We'll
If
see.
If it doesn't give you an alert, then you just have to make sure you saw it.
I'm pretty sure it has some custom. Yep, because it's number of games and prize.
Both in.
So let's see what happens. For example, I should have,
Oh, but didn't it also say no files to bring over?
5 incentives and.
Even though there was a.
so this is what, let's do, yeah.
3 basic pages and 5 incentives, which is what we got.
Okay, but let's go see what they look like.
Oh, they're basic pages now, right?
Yep, they're basic pages now. But
So
there's not many of them, so.
Gotta remember, okay, so
38 games or 25 or any of those, yeah.
Silicon Watch. That's all that came, was the title.
So the title and the body.
The title and the body. Yep.
And it didn't tell you anything.
No.
about it, So you just have to check. yourself.
So that's where you have to be very careful to make sure that you have your content types created the way you want them to be be able to pull all your data over. Your content type can have an extra field, or if there's fields you don't want to bring over, then don't have them there, and then it just won't bring them. Say there's a field that you never use, don't create it in your new one.
Okay, so let's say you did this import, then you realized didn't work, you missed it, go back and add a field, and then you revert that
Okay.
import, right? You
Yep.
Revert it.
I can go back to my migrate dashboard. This is local. Why are you being slow?
You lose data if you like edited the nodes and then realized.
So if I go to this one right here,
How do you get that name? You didn't type that name, did you?
huh?
Is this an existing one that you've tried already, or
No,
how do you get the name? The LVMP?
it brings it from the site name.
Aha.
So that's why the other ones came up with Springville Chiropractic that you had given me.
Right.
So here I can say, okay, I really didn't want those 5 node incentives because that came in wrong. Let's roll those back. But I don't want to have to do all my taxonomies and my users again. I only want to do that. I want to get rid of those. Then I can go in and create my content type, rerun that part right there.
Oh, can we try,
No. Just kidding, what?
can we try adding a field on the
And
basic
0
page
reported.
and
Nice.
make the field name, see how it maps the field. Like put an integer field, so it might think it's the same one, but have the machine name different. And it'll probably won't pull over because it probably has to be the same machine name, right?
It has to be the same machine name.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna match.
Yeah, it has to be the same machine
Because
name.
that's how it's gonna find the
Right.
right table.
Yeah,
Right.
it won't find it. in the-
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's pretty cool, and as I've looked, they're supposedly it's supposed to be even greater and easier to do it in 8, but I haven't seen it. So, anyway, these are some cool tools, and going from Drupal to Drupal is awesome. Coming from another one, that migrate module is really, really, really nifty. But when it comes right down to it, when you just got to get the work done, for me, my choice has been to do a script, much to the chagrin of my boss, Sherwin.
So I will point out one thing about the script that she does, right? She's not doing database inserts,
Right.
right? So at least you're using this, if you're going to do a script, and sometimes it makes the most sense if you at least use the Drupalisms, the Drupal API stuff,
Right.
you'll know that everything goes where it's supposed to go, and you didn't, right, it's gonna all work out in the end.
Right. You're not putting a record into here that has a foreign key over to here that's not going to be there.
Exactly.
And as I've done these, how I found all this was I Googled programmatically create Drupal content, programmatically edit Drupal content, and that's where I've figured out all these different hooks. You had a question?
Just with the data import and those certain fields not being imported, is it possible that, because the way that Drupal works is when we create a field, it creates a database table,
Mm-hmm.
but if that table is not mapped to a specific node, then it won't show up on the node. So is it possible that it created the table and put the information in there?
Let's go look.
But because that field isn't attached to that content type, it just doesn't show up.
Let's look. Field data. Those are all from the baseball thing. There's not one called incentive. Because that's what it would have been.
Is that because you rolled it back already?
And you rolled it back.
Well, geez, let's be logical. Let's try it again.
Just because I know under, when you're editing content types or, the
Mhm.
display on content types, you can
Right.
add existing fields
Right.
that are already there, so.
Okay, let's re-import that. Nope,
There's nothing there.
there's nothing there. Yes,
Does this work for file attachments?
yes. You saw that where the one was files? When I was going through the wizard,
You know,
it asked about files.
content type itself.
Yeah.
Content for that.
Any other questions? All right. No problem. Have another ball. Are they all gone? Come to the game tomorrow night. We have games. We start a 7-game homestand Thursday night.
And Julie was so nice, she brought tickets for raffle prizes, so there's some of those coming in like.
If you win and you use those vouchers, all I ask is you buy concessions.
If you go to a baseball game, you kind of need a hot dog.
But people, exactly. But nothing against you people that use your passable passes. They just don't spend money, and they complain they have to pay for parking.
Which, by the way, you do have to pay for parking.
But you get a $2 coupon for concessions, so that when you go buy concessions, you get $2 off.
When you park, you get $2.
Yeah, you pay $5 and you get a ticket and it has a $2. Anyway. Yeah, I tell my friends I'll get anyone tickets, just buy concessions. Anyway. All right, thanks.
Thank you.